you guys are good.
Hi.
Hey. This story was fun.
Yes.
So, okay.
And I'm sorry. I know I butchered the pronunciation of that.
Send us how to pronounce your name if you want. Yep. Any housekeeping stuff?
I can't think of anything.
They literally, like... Hi, guys. Might have to delete this. Ready, set? Okay. It was winter. Welcome to the Bailey Banter. Yay! So we're going to talk about top 5 contributors. Good job, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for contributing, adding to the group, and we do appreciate all of you. And 2 of these members were silent members for a really long time in our group, and that can happen. So just because you've been on the group for a while and you haven't participated doesn't mean you can't start doing that today. And then you will be included on this list.
October's coming fast, guys. Start
collecting
makeup, collecting your ideas for costumes. It comes up fast. We're already preparing for our October party.
I love October. There is so many fun activities, different makeup looks, and non-makeup activities that you can do as well. And generally, I love October and Halloween. I think a lot of our members do. So yeah. I am looking forward to October, but it seems to be coming really fast.
Yeah, this year has really just been woefully long, but short at the same time.
For me, it just feels like it's speeding by. Like I can't take a break.
Yeah, no. I keep taking a second to look up for air, and it's 6 months later, and I'm going to wake up and be 95 and be like, what in the world?
The group has been overall doing amazing. I don't think we've had to delete too many posts, so that is awesome. No random people trying to like have you play games or claiming you can win money. Yeah, we don't want to see that.
Well, we do want to see playing games because I'm telling you what, those predictive texts get hilarious.
Yeah, those ones are fun.
The more y'all engage, the more entertainment I get because I get to read all these. It's fun.
Mine half the time don't make sense.
Yeah, mine always end up being like wild. Sometimes it's like name the way they got murdered type ones. And then all of a sudden I'm like, will you pick up cheesecake?
Wait, what?
Or mine talk about I have a couple kids with epilepsy and it will be epilepsy or seizures in mine. And I'm like,
I mean, listen, sometimes I just close my eyes and start pushing random parts of my keyboard. Okay.
I should just do that.
I think that that might be a fun game.
Yeah.
Bailey finally covered the lipstick killer. Like she pointed out, how is it that she got this many episodes in and didn't do the lipstick killer?
I know, right? It just goes with the whole makeup theme. It is one I don't remember hearing about. Maybe because but it doesn't matter, it's an old case. You know, there's some really old cases that are still pretty well known. And this one was not on my radar at all. After she went over it, though, I am so annoyed. I agree with her. I don't think they have the right killer.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going with, an answer as to why it wasn't a very popular case. And it's probably because, weird, but I noticed the fascist behavior from the police officers as they locked this man in the interrogation room, as they physically assaulted people, as they forced people to confess, and then eventually they deny him his rights to a lawyer. They refuse him the ability to speak to even his family. And then when the doctor finally gives them the truth serum, they start saying that is exactly what the truth is. not realizing that they've been torturing him for so long and the brain is now in survival mode. And in order to survive, it's going to do what it needs to do. And the inhibition to stop it, to refrain from murder charges, isn't there anymore.
Yeah. And just hearing truth serum in this, when, now knowing that it's not exactly accurate and not everything anybody says is the truth. And also interrogating people for extended amount of period is difficult. From my own personal experience, I had a type of parent that when asking me if I did something, wouldn't drop it.
Yeah.
And would yell and interrogate me for hours.
I had a similar situation where I was accused of doing something as a teenager, and they would switch back and forth between longer sessions and longer term. Your parent probably did it too, where it wasn't like they wouldn't sit you down and force you to listen for 3 hours, but for the next 6 months, you were gonna hear about it every chance they got until they got the answer they wanted. Versus an interrogation that goes longer, where it's actual evidence being presented. And it's not so much about the pressure in terms of the interrogation, but more so it is literally saying, do you see this evidence?
Yeah.
Explain how this is wrong.
Or if the stories keep being switched up too. So the interrogation is going to go on longer because it's like, wait a second, you said this happened, but now you're changing your story. This case didn't have any of that. And it really shows why we have certain laws and protections in place nowadays. I know a lot of people are like, oh, we just need to go out and arrest a bad guy and just lock him up, throw away the key, and just be done with it. But when you have that mentality, sometimes you get the wrong person. And I really don't think he did it.
It brings to light why we need that due process and why we need it the way we do.
Yeah.
I believe Bailey said they didn't ever actually place him under arrest.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, because there was some sort of an injury and he went to the hospital so that the doctors could clear him so he could go to jail.
Well, that was a flower pot thing because he was struggling up a balcony and then a police officer was dropping flower pots on his head. And it just seems like this could be in a slapstick comedy.
Well, and not only that, it seems, a little nepotistic. Oh, that guy I remember from whatever point in my career. There goes the flower pot.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting for such an older case to feel similarities to now how a case would be presented. I could imagine, because that's happened before, where a case comes out and then people are going online, instantly look up information about it, they're looking into it, they're forming opinions already about who they think it is. All this
started in Chicago of 1945 in the winter, and it was bad. The winter was rough. They had to turn on the lights in the middle of the day so people could see because the snow was so heavy. So that being said, police are continuing to find bodies left, right, and center when they finally find a little girl in the sewers.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
There was a ransom note, but then they got a call saying she's in the sewers. Find her there.
Suzanne Degnan, the 6-year-old girl. Ransom note.
Wasn't it basically give me money, meet me up and give me money. Don't call the police about this. Don't contact anybody about it. And burn this note afterwards for her safety. But they didn't find it right away because the window was open and they had already contacted police and then they found it.
Yeah, and she had been abducted out of her room, not she wasn't just walking down the street. Somebody actually took the initiative to get into her. And that was what actually triggered the police to actually go looking for her and looking for these other women too. The police end up getting an anonymous phone call that tells them to check the sewers, and that is how they find the body. The reason that they believed the person that they put into custody in the first place was because he had a hypodermic needle on him and a surgery kit. And they said,
his fingerprints, because they had one kind of smudged fingerprint, and it hit 7 of the points. But later on, they said it actually hit 15. And his handwriting kind of matched, because in one of the victims' case, that's where you get the lipstick. There was a message written saying, "Stop me for heaven's sake before I do it again." And that was the whole thing, but I thought it was a lady because that expression was very feminine to them.
Yeah.
And his handwriting kind of looked like that.
Yeah. And then the entire town just went into a panicked frenzy. Not only is World War II all over the news, then you've got the threat of a murderer in your own town.
Yeah.
Like I get the fear.
They were selling the newspapers out. They were saying they were sold out before sunrise. So they were making a pretty penny off of this too.
So one of the theories was that it was her father. And then other people say that it was like a butcher who had recently gotten laid off because of what her father did for a living.
Yeah.
And then some people were thinking that it was just someone that was angry at Suzanne's father. And all of it was speculation and rumors. None of it was like founded in the truth. And then, you know, there were some theories of him being a lower class person due to the fact that the spelling was off. Police also had a theory that he was a higher educated man because of the dissection of the body as well as the misspellings. They thought he was classically trained in music.
They didn't really do profiling yet then. And I think their ideas for a lot of what the bad guy that they're looking for was a lot of prejudice.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of personal biases.
Back then, if you were like good looking, wealthy, and educated, you
get away with everything.
Get away with crimes.
Yep. They finally come upon Richard Thomas, ended up coming forward about everything. And he was like, I did it. But he's in Phoenix, Arizona. They investigated him. They tested the handwriting. He had the medical background, like I said. And he knew a lot of things about the case that weren't public. But the police are not satisfied with this. No. Couldn't be the killer.
I mean, there's so many things that attaches him to that crime, but he's not the one that we want.
Right? I mean, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it swims like a duck, it's got to be a pig, right?
Yeah. Or maybe a horse.
The investigators determined that Richard was giving a false confession. They said it was because he didn't want to be prosecuted for his crime in Arizona, which also, she didn't say what that was, did she?
No, she didn't.
Why would you take on a murder charge to avoid? What charge are you trying to avoid?
A different murder?
Either way, why are we confessing to any murder charges that we didn't do? It doesn't add up.
He's not like a serial confessor because, you know, there's people like that who are like, I want to be helpful.
June 26, 1946, things changed. In an upscale neighborhood, not far from where Suzanne was, right? Where she lived, not where they found her. There was someone who had been watching some sketchy behavior. And so when they called the police showed up really quickly. And it's just this kid who tried to run away and turned and tried to shoot at the police.
Yeah.
And this is where that flower pot incident happens. And so they take him to the hospital to get him cleared so that then they can take him to jail. And the hospital's like, no, about that. So they end up keeping him. That is when they start like interrogating him in the hospital. They're denying him the opportunity to talk to his mother. They're denying him the opportunity to contact counsel. They are continually interrogating him and everything. And then finally, when those doctors give him the truth serum, he admits to everything. And you know what? The thing is that like, I do absolutely agree with you in that I don't think they got the right person. I do think that they needed to like absolutely like super investigate that case way deeper. Yeah, it's not a cohesive case. They didn't have anything, and I don't think they ever would have really had anything because it doesn't look like he did it. It looks like the person that admitted that he did it.
Yeah.
You know,
but they didn't want to go back and redo the case and admit that they had made mistakes.
Yeah, because they didn't do that, a lot of people didn't get justice. You know, like Josephine Ross, she didn't get any justice from it. Frances Brown, Suzanne Dengen. Really, ultimately, their families didn't get justice. It's just
How much did he get sentenced though? Because then he spent time, or did he spend the rest of his life in prison?
He ended up sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, and he never stopped claiming he was innocent. He was at Stateville, a maximum security prison, and then he got himself transferred to a psychiatric unit in Maynard, and then he got sent back in 1949. He filed a petition to re-examine the evidence, specifying to talk about how like the police had treated him and talk about the fact that they were passing things off as fact when they weren't and slandering him.
And that probably got him nowhere.
Basically, the Illinois Supreme Court acknowledged that the police had actually violated his rights, that they had like drugged him and grilled him nonstop, and then they had done things without a warrant, like searching him without a warrant, and they'd strapped him to the hospital bed and beaten him. The Supreme Court called the police's behavior deserving of the severest condemnation. And then
which I agree with, but I mean, did anything good come out after that? Or are we once again like, oh yeah, their conduct was awful, but nothing's going to change?
And the response was they upheld the conviction because it was settled on a plea bargain.
I think plea bargains are completely sometimes mental. When you can, even if you are innocent, it is better to say I'm guilty in a plea bargain because you're being railroaded by the police. Mm-hmm. This case was frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's also interesting, and I think it's educational because it is super important to know what your rights are.
Exactly, and make sure to stand up for your rights. Also, never speak to them unless you have an attorney present. Always remember that. Even if you're innocent, it does not matter.
So yeah, no, I love this case for the fact that it is a great learning tool. And it is a great way to kind of see how a case could go wrong. Anyway, thanks for coming and joining, guys.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.